Welcome to Season 6 of the Long-Winded One podcast. This is Spoiler Sessions, Lit RPG, the only show where spoilers don't spoil anything. We're digging into fan theories, side characters, and the lore office left in the drawer.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Spoiler Sessions, Season 6 of the Long-Winded One podcast. With me tonight, I have two fabulous folks. Did you catch that alliteration there? I'm a big alliteration guy. They have come here to talk about some lit RPG and to celebrate the fact that we are only 16 weeks away from Lit RPG Con, everybody. So I want to introduce my fabulous guests. I have, as a special guest / co-host tonight, I have Joel Harvey from the Progression Fantasy podcast, who I'm excited to have with me, and he's going to help me ask questions tonight. And of the spectacular author, J.L. Mullins, who I know and I got a chance to meet at Lit RPG Con last year. Josh, or JL, you will know from the various series that he writes, Millennial Mage and Choose Your Apocalypse. So welcome, you guys.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah. So, all right. Just, wow, we already have 16 people in chat, and I'm going to make sure I keep my chat open just so we can see them. Someone named Andrew in the chat just said, Jared. So hi Andrew. Anyway, so we have lots of questions. In fact, we have more questions that we'll probably get to tonight. But I want to start off. I actually have a really fun question, but before we do that, we're gonna do Millennial Mage first. Okay, we have a series of questions on there, and then we have some about Choose Your Apocalypse. And unlike other podcasts and other seasons of my podcast, we're going to stick to these questions instead of, talking about the nature of writing and what D&D campaigns you liked as a child, which I love to talk about. We're going to stick to your books. Okay. These are spoiler sessions. We're going to get into the lore. All right. So before we do anything, I would like, Josh, if you could give us like a high level view of Millennial Mage.
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me. I'm excited to be here. So Millennial Mage at its core is a coming of age story for Tala. She sort of starts the series as a new graduate from the Magical Academy, and she's looking to bluff her way into her first paid position. The story follows her progression through the previously hidden levels of advancement as she explores the dangerous world of Zine. And yeah, I mean, it starts very low level where she really is just trying to get an entry level position. And as the series progresses and her power grows, she becomes kind of more important to the world stage, and she learns more about what's going on.
Yeah. And so you mentioned some important things here. We're gonna be talking about these various levels. And I think the book series actually, so you have 11 books out right now. In Millennial Mage, and you have the 12th one coming here in April, and
Yes,
and I'll have you drop that big reveal here at the end of the podcast, even though I kind of spoiled it, but that makes sense, right? Spoiler sessions and all that. All right, so we have Tala, right? You didn't mention a few other names, but some of those other names might come up. Do you want to mention some of the other characters now, or do you want to just let it come out organically in the questions?
I think letting it come out organically might fit better. That way I don't just kind of scattershot and end up still missing the ones at the question. It really is amazing how much the world has expanded, partially due to fans putting in different cameo characters and other things of that nature, where I think if we took the entire half hour for me to list characters, we still wouldn't get through all of them.
Understood. So we have, speaking of fans, we have Eek Daddy in the chat is saying favorite series right now, and also saying wife is just learning that you're male.
That was actually a funny thing, not to head off the questions, but for a long time near the beginning of the series on Royal Road, I was assumed to be a woman, and I took that to be a high compliment because, again, the main female character And I just have to say thank you to my wife, especially, who helped kind of polish that and make sure I didn't step in anything terrible in that regard.
Well, Eek Daddy's wife is in the chat and says Terry is best boy. So there you go. Thank you for being here, everybody. You write female characters well, says Ever in Rain.
Thank you very much.
So I'm curious. This was kind of like a funny first question. It's not really a first question, but you said, Josh, that a good friend of yours insists that Millennial Mage is actually Warhammer like a lost colony.
Yeah.
Can you tell us whether that's true or not?
Well, I mean, for copyright reasons, it can't be, but it's always fun to leave things open. I actually really enjoy in writing not closing any door that I don't have to. That way it lets fans and readers be able to imagine more fully, and it leaves the world more organic, more able to grow and fit the story as it's needed. Obviously, if something has to be nailed down, I will, and I'll do my best to stick to it. But if I don't have to say, no, absolutely not, I just, yeah, sure, it fits. The fact that the magic can corrupt and can have issues in that regard, and there's the reality twisting, it does sort of fit with the warp from Warhammer 40K and other such things.
Yeah. I mean, I was really interested to see like how you did your system, because there's like the engraving process and the like leveling up with your like the star core or whatever.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with that?
Like, yeah, no, that's a great question. Part of it is a lot of great authors have stated that what makes magic systems good is having a cost to them. And so when I was trying to build this world, I wanted to figure out how could I have a magic system that had a cost. And in this one, I sort of like, I didn't at the time didn't want to go full lit RPG for this series by having a mana bar that goes up and down. And so I thought, how could I have spells that they could use up? It's like, well, if they have something that's tattooed into them, and as the magic flows through, it erodes at the tattoos, forcing them to kind of get re-inked every so often. And also then that makes them have to figure out, like, okay, do I want the same spell set? Do I want to change the schema? I'm going into a different situation. I usually do fire, but can I do something else instead? And while Tala, the main character in this, doesn't change her power set very often, it does evolve through the series, but she doesn't radically change it. There are some characters that occasionally come in that have that, where it's like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to fight this, so of course I'm going to change the magics that I have at my disposal. And so that's kind of how that came about at the beginning, at least.
So do you have any fans that have kind of gotten themselves engraved? Right? Like, have you had anybody mention that to you?
Yeah, so with regard to spell forms or inscriptions specifically, I don't think so, partially because I'm not a visually artistic person, and so I didn't trust myself to actually design the inscriptions in such a way that would be consistent and coherent. But I have had fans tell me that a couple of them have gotten tattoos of either Terry or some of the book covers, which was really honoring in the sense of I really appreciated how much that they liked the effort that was put into making those images and those characters.
Josh, I think you're onto something. I think that sometimes when authors spell things out a little too much, it gives the fans like less to think about. Right, like it's great to get their imaginations like going wild. Ever in Rain says your magic system is so fun.
Well, thank you.
Well, I'm happy to ask the next question, Joel, unless you have one that you'd like to ask.
How long do you think your series is going to go on for? Because I read book 1, and it is so hard as a podcaster because I like have to read all these book series, and I get stuck on some that are like really good, like yours, and I just want to continue. So,
oh well, thank you. That's very kind of you. I believe that I am writing the final book right now, which would be book 15. There is a chance that it will go beyond that. I haven't fully shut that door, partially because of the way that I write. I don't have like a solid outline of like, here's every bullet point, every chapter. and I've definitely been surprised by some of the turns the story has taken. So again, I won't say definitively that book 15 is the last book, but from my perspective at the moment, it looks like it will be. And again, because go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask, did you have 15 in mind when you kind of mapped out the series, or not really?
No, when I started the series, there's a large pivot at the end of book 6 and the start of book 7. And that's really the point at which, when I started writing the series, I knew that point was going to happen, which is really funny because it's actually a contentious pivot that a lot of people said, this came out of nowhere. Like, why did this happen? Or clearly the author's running out of ideas. That's why he's doing this. I was like, of all the things that happened in the story, that's actually the one that's like, when I started writing, I knew this was going to happen. And then I knew that by the time I had written to that point, the world would have been developed enough that I had no faith in my ability to project what would happen afterward. And so basically book 7 onward, I then kind of projected and went forward with at that point, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Well, the numbers in chat keep going up, and so I just want to encourage everyone to keep chiming in. RCM says, no! Did I get that emotion correctly? I don't want it to end. So yeah, please keep the comments coming here. I'm going to go to the next question, which is, who was supposed to die but didn't in your stories?
Well, so again,
in your series,
in the realm of the spoilers, and this will actually make some people very upset because there are some people who don't like this character, which I find kind of funny. Is Rain was supposed to die. There's a point in one of the upcoming books where, or actually it might have been the past book. I've got to remember where in the story it fits. I sometimes forget what's in exactly which of the books. But where there was a climactic point of sacrifice, and I felt like Rain fit. And as it went there, as it built towards it, it turned out I was wrong. Like it wasn't clicking, and it felt forced. And then basically what happened is, as I was looking at it, I realized that without even intending to, for me, the characters had kind of set up where, no, it makes way more sense for this person to have been the one to sacrifice themselves than for Rain to have. And it actually landed way better than if I had tried to force Rain's death. And yeah, no, it was one of the times where I'm really happy that I was willing to trust my kind of odd process, in that it's like, well, I thought this was going to happen and it really shouldn't. And yeah, so that shifted.
Where do you get that feedback generally?
Well, I have a wonderful set of beta readers that get things anywhere between 2 weeks before my highest Patreon tier down to, if I'm really cutting it close, I think the closest I've ever gotten is like 4 days. But everybody's stressed at that point, so we try to avoid that. So they give it, but before any of them get it, my wife reads through it and she gives me a lot of feedback, and that really is critical beyond anything I can say. And then, I mean, the story itself, all often when I go to write a chapter, be thinking like, well, I know I want this to happen. I don't even know why the character would do this, but I know that they would. And then by the time I get to the end of the chapter, it's like, oh, that makes so much sense why they would do that. And I think just because of the characters themselves, almost, I know it's kind of a cliche thing, but taking on a life of their own.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned your wife, and we have a husband and wife duo in the chat. And I got to tell you, my wife reads all of my stuff too. I think we need to have like an honorary author spouse partner day where, because think about how many authors you've talked to or heard, in their acknowledgments in their books are like, thank you to my spouse. Right. I mean, I don't know that I could write my book without my spouse,
Mm-hmm.
So I think we should have an honorary day. Geneva, if you're listening,
Absolutely.
we need to have a session on this at Lit RPG Con, I think.
Dude, it was so nice at Lit RPG Con to actually see everyone and their spouses. So
yeah. My wife wants to come, and I'm like, how is that going to work? We have 3 children. I don't know, and one of them's pretty young, so I'm like, I don't know that I could ask them to be in a hotel room for 5 days or however many days it is. But Joel, do you have a question you want to ask?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and ask the next question. So was Kit killed in the Reforging? You want to let us know about that?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one.
Josh, this is where I think we're going to need to talk about Kit a little bit.
Absolutely. So Kit is the name that Tala gave her expanded space. She gets kind of a little belt pouch that inside is big enough like for a closet. She can climb inside. And as the series goes on, again, in the spoiler venue, it's kind of revealed that Kit was actually kind of an extra dimensional horror that had come to Zim to eat someone. But the first time that Tala climbs in to look around, she's like, "Oh, you look hungry." And so she just like feeds it magic. And she ends up filling it up so much that it can't eat her yet. And so it's like, "Oh, well, I'll just digest this magic and then eat her later." But every time she comes in, she feeds it. She's like, "Oh, you look hungry." And so eventually, basically, Kit decides that, this person's pretty cool. I'll just kind of help her out as I can. So Kit sort of develops into a no speaking line character. She gets 1, maybe 2 POV chapters. The first one was actually kind of an April Fool's fun chapter. And I loved doing it and the fans loved reading it. So I decided to kind of make it canon, even though I hadn't decided whether or not it was going to be it to begin with. But so again, she develops and continues. But the type of creature that Kit is doesn't really have a true sapience. They have kind of a sentience. They'll respond, they'll react, but they're actually in search of a consciousness. And so when Tala reforges, which is one of the upper levels of the advancement, she remakes herself. And as part of remaking herself, she kind of incorporates Kit into who she is. And so you could argue that Kit is killed, but to my mind, Kit kind of reaches her fulfillment and finally gains a true consciousness in Tala, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
Josh, were you a Knight Rider fan? I'm just curious.
I don't know that I've ever seen even one episode, unfortunately.
Oh man, okay. Because the car in Knight Rider is called Kit, and that would have been a nice throwback. And it's okay if you're going to just leave that to my imagination. That's okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, so we have so Everin Rain was like, "Oh, I'm leaving before the spoilers." She says, "I'm only on book 4." So Eek, if you want to tell your wife that, hey Dennis, if you want to tell your wife though, she can come back. We're going to switch gears to choose your apocalypse now. But Dennis Reeds is in the chat. What's going on, buddy? All right, so we're going to switch gears now. And we're gonna go to the choose your apocalypse before we get too far into this interview. I definitely want because you have a ton of chapters out there available for people to read on Royal Road right now.
Yes, sir.
There's over 100 chapters, I think, still on Royal Road.
Right around there, yeah. No, it's more than 100 chapters, and on Patreon we just reached the end of book 1, so we're coming up into the climax on Royal Road. So you're welcome to join us for the ride. If you start reading now, you might land right when the book ends too, and it could be a perfect thing.
I love when that happens, man.
Right.
Oh man.
So I'll give the brief summary.
Yes,
and
please.
I'll apologize in advance that it's since I've only been writing it for a much shorter time, it'll be less polished. But choose your apocalypse basically follows Alex Johnson at the advent of a system apocalypse. I guess that's a fairly common term, but I'll explain it anyway. Where our world ends and a game-like system is imposed on top of it with levels, classes, that sort of thing. So Alex is in a system apocalypse, but as multiple worlds are combined at the integration, he is sadly killed, or he would have been, except the powers that be offer him basically an apology tutorial. Like, hey, we weren't willing to spare the expense so you wouldn't die. So here, have an apology, and maybe you can either choose how you die and like choose your apocalypse. I really always wanted to die by a dragon. You can choose that and die that way. Or they can choose something in which they can grow and excel and kind of come out better than they might have even if they had stayed on Earth for the full integration and the standard tutorial. So yeah, it follows him. He pretty quickly chooses, whether you agree with his reasoning or not, he chooses a kind of heavy, shorter sword that's almost like a battle machete that can be used with two hands. It's a Chinese sword called a dadao. And he chooses the enemy of kind of standard zombies. The idea in his mind is, man, in all the zombie flicks, even regular people are okay against them. If I'm going to have superpowers like a system, I should be able to do pretty great. And it goes from there.
That's awesome. And this seems like from a writing aspect, it's quite a shift from Millennial Mage. I was wondering how you, before we get to the first official question, how you made that shift.
Absolutely. If anything, Choose Your Apocalypse is a brain break from Millennial Mage, where I know more and more there are some authors that just use common vernacular in secondary world fiction like Millennial Mage is, but I try very hard to avoid it, trying to, if I put something in there, it's something that the characters themselves would think or say. And so the example I've used to friends and family who've asked is like, in Millennial Mage, if something is the size of a semi-truck, I have to think of something that's in the world that's that size that will then evoke in the reader's mind it's as big as a semi-truck, which is like 2 or 3 steps removed. But in Choose Your Apocalypse, I can just say it's as big as a semi-truck.
Right.
And so, yeah. And then basically over the years of writing Millennial Mage, it's coming up on 4 now. There have been a lot of ideas like, oh, it'd be really funny if this happened, or really great if this happened. And it's like, that really doesn't fit. I'm just going to tuck that off to the side. And so Choose Your Apocalypse has really been a way of me kind of pulling those back in as well. And I really enjoy writing both of them, but Choose Your Apocalypse has very much actually even increased the amount that I've been able to write of Millennial Mage, even though I initially had the concern of, am I going to slow down what I'm able to do on Millennial Mage? But because I'm able to switch between them, it again lets my brain rest between them and actually kind of, it's almost like reading a book can help me come back to my own stories. Writing the secondary story does the same thing.
Some authors are so disciplined where they're just like, nope, on Tuesdays I write this story and on Wednesdays I write this story, and I cannot do that. So my
not quite that, but I just try to keep them both a good clip ahead of where I need to be posting them. And that sort of forces me to go back and forth sometimes, but generally I try to go where my brain is resting at the moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask Joel, I think, to if he's comfortable reading the next question. But before we do that, I want to just say we have a few comments here. So Eek Daddy's bringing his wife back, so that's good for this conversation. And the question is: are audiobooks being released for CYA? Choose Your Apocalypse.
Well, so I don't think this is a secret at all, but I've actually signed Choose Your Apocalypse, the first 3 books with Athon.
Oh, that's sweet, man.
Yeah, so that's really exciting. For Millennial Mage, it very much being the progression fantasy, the more game-lit than lit RPG, it didn't really fit into a niche very well, which is why self-publishing I think has been the right choice for it. But Choose Your Apocalypse has more similar beats to the lit RPG genre, to the ones that Athon has sold very well. And so I'm actually excited to be able to just write for that series and not have to deal with the publishing aspect of things, which I don't enjoy very much. I enjoy writing. I don't enjoy all the ancillary stuff.
Well, Dennis from Dennis Reads Lit RPG is like, this story sounds pretty good. I'm gonna need to read this book for sure. And Josh, I'm just saying, some of us, send books to Dennis. I just recently sent a book to Dennis. So, if you find it in your heart to send, he's a good one to send books to. And he does these great book openings on his TikTok account. So
yeah, I mean, shoot me a DM either in Discord or on Royal Road, and I'm happy to chat.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Joel, do we have that first question queued up?
I'm not seeing it on here, but I was really interested. Why? So is he alone in his apocalypse, or does he have other people with him?
Oh, that's a great question. One of his early decisions after kind of choosing through that, and is he has to decide whether he wants to go it alone or go with other people. There's sort of an incentive structure set up to like, if you do go with other people and they survive, you'll be better off. But if you choose to go with them and you don't succeed as well, it's way worse than if you were on your own. And so he does actually choose to team up with other people. And so starting, I think it might be chapter 8. Let me glance. Chapter 7 and 8 is when the other characters start to be introduced. And there's four other characters that are introduced there, maybe 5, that go through at least the first tutorial scenario with him, which that's not really a spoiler, but I mean, even if it was, that's what this place is for, is the zombie apocalypse is basically the first scenario of the apology tutorial. And the second scenario is book 2, where they are kind of changed, and it's basically them being shown different aspects of the system. So again, as a proper tutorial, they come out with a better understanding of how things work.
Well, we are getting short on time. We have about 4 minutes left, but we have Dennis is asking if there are animal companions in this one.
So there is not an animal companion yet. This is a high spoiler, but in book 3, he will get a little spirit companion that evokes similar-ish to Little Blue or Dross from Cradle without being a direct copy at all. It's being, again, more of an entity that can possess physical objects without having a physical form that is their own.
That's cool. Well, we had 3 questions planned, Josh, for Choose Your Apocalypse. How about this? I just put the questions in our private chat. How about you pick the one that we definitely should cover tonight, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Sure. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I want to cover like the crucial ones, the ones that you are like, we got to talk about this on air.
Absolutely. I think it's really the third question actually is a really fun one, is why is there an apology tutorial? Part of that is some of my background is in facilitation and systems management and interacting with different people. And it's always been interesting to me, the errors that are accepted in order to facilitate a larger process. And so this kind of came out of that, of like, is it really cost effective to perfectly parse an entire planet and keep everybody perfectly intact? No, it's not. So at some level, where is it we just draw the lines where they are? Oh, we cut someone in half. Okay, well, that's not really fair. So what can we do about that? Oh, we can give them an apology tutorial. If they die in there, it costs us nothing. If they come through it, it might cost us a little more, but way less than if we had actually tried to be more precise.
Interesting. Yeah.
So that's kind of where the overarching idea came from.
I love it, man. That's really cool. I kind of want to, I know we're short on time, but I kind of want to cover, one more question here.
Sure.
Let's
Is
get
there any in the chat, or go ahead.
Let's get juicy. Some have theorized about romances with the MMC. Would you care to address that?
Sure. I mean, for the moment, Alex isn't going to have any interest in romance at all. There's the secondary character who's introduced pretty early is Natasha. Her driving motivation is that she's in here and her husband and son are not. And so she wants to get strong so that when she comes out, she can make sure to find them and help keep them safe. And so I feel that there's absolutely no romantic chance there, personally. But I know that some people will be like, well, but like thrown together like this, like who knows if they'll live? I mean, I don't see that happening personally. And I think all of them at the moment have other things on their mind, for lack of a better way of putting it. When he comes out of the tutorial, in books 3 and onward, there may come in a romantic interest. I never thought that, or I had never really planned for Tala to have a romantic interest, but by the latter books after book 9, etc., it started like really coming in as like, oh, it actually makes sense and it fits. So I won't say that Alex will never have a romantic interest, but
Well, Josh,
Yeah.
I think we should abide by the maxim: what happens in the tutorial stays in the tutorial, right? So you can never say never, right?
Lizzie, I'll tell your wife you said that.
No, yeah. Right. Thankfully, I'm not in a tutorial, right? All right. Well, before we go, so we have hit that 30-minute mark. But before we go, just want to thank you both for being here. I want to thank everybody that's been in chat, even the people we scared away with our spoilers. The numbers kept going up in chat. But I want to hear from Joel and Josh now, what they have coming out, what they're excited for. And we'll start with Joel.
Yeah. Well, if you weren't familiar with my work, we used to do chat and stats. I started my own new podcast called the Progression Fantasy Podcast. So I've been putting a lot of work in on that. Our next episode, I'm having Hunter Mythos on to talk
He's
some of his
awesome.
books. So
He's so
I'm
cool.
pretty excited for that. Yeah.
Joel, by the way, I want to give you congratulations on your branding. Your branding on the Progressive Fantasy Podcast is a lot more wide-reaching than my spoiler sessions one. So
Yeah.
kudos to you on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so when does that come out? The Hunter Mythos one?
Next week.
That's
I gotta
okay.
mock up an announcement for it today. So
That's okay. Yeah. Do we have your episodes listed on the calendar already?
yes, we do.
Okay. So if you check out,
no.
yeah, go ahead, Joel. Sorry.
Sorry.
If while you're looking, if you go over to longwinded.one, click on spoiler sessions, scroll to the bottom of the page, there's a calendar link there that has like all of the podcast episodes that I could, of anybody that I know. And sometimes there will be a podcast on every night.
Yeah. So that will be on the 30th at 5:00 Eastern Standard Time.
Wow. That's you're getting it done in the afternoon. I like it.
Well, it's really hard because like if you have people that you're wanting to do interviews with who are over in the UK, their time is way off from ours. If we did it at like the 8:00, it'd probably be like too late for them. And so 5:00 is where I tend to try and keep my episodes.
Makes sense. Well, Josh, it is your turn now in the hot seat here. So tell us, what do you have coming up? There's a really cool announcement, a really soon announcement that we have for Millennial Mage, I believe.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Outbound, book 12 is coming out on April 8th. Book 12, April 8th. I'm excited about that. We just finalized the audio a couple days ago. The amazing narrator Tess Irondale is fantastic as she comes alongside us, and she's been fantastic to work with. She's really become the voice of Tala to a lot of people, and I'm excited to get the audiobook out to everyone and to release the book itself.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and you're coming to Lit RPG Con, both of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. And in theory, I'll be a panelist on at least one panel. We'll see how that shakes out.
Very good. Very good. And the really important question I want to know, Josh, is are you coming to get burritos with me at least one morning like we did?
I would love to. I wouldn't miss it with you and Eric for anything.
Awesome. I'm going to end with this comment. I think this is a great way to end. Drethlos, I think is how you say this. J.L. Mullins, absolutely love your Choose Your Apocalypse book so far. Hope to see more. Thanks for your writing.
I appreciate that. I feel really blessed to be able to do this for a living. So I would be writing even without readers, but you readers are why I'm able to do it for a living. So thank you.
100%. All right, everybody. Well, we'll see you next week. And thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Bye.